It's the Brad and John Show.
It is the Brad and John Show. Today's date is the 19th of September, 2025. This is the B block, the Bravo block, the Brad block. And the reason I mention the date is because of the fact that a lot of people listen to this show live, but a lot of people listen to the future on bjshow.co, which is the traditional podcast version, and also bjshow.us, which is the non-traditional YouTube version. Right, John?
Exactly right, Brad. And I also want to say, it's number 3. Oh, wait, I'm too early.
You're too early.
It's time for Brad's Top 3.
It's time for Brad's Top 3. The top 3, John, and the ladies got to sing it one more time.
It's time for Brad's Top 3.
Okay, now we start with...
It's number 3.
Story in the St. Louis Post-Dispatch. You say I never read the Post-Dispatch, which I do every day. A story about the feds saying no to St. Louis. Did you see this story?
No, Brad. Is it the number 2 link on my website today? And do I have multiple stories from both St. Louis Post-Dispatch and St. Louis Public Radio up? Yes, I do. No, Brad, I didn't see it at all. Thanks for visiting my website. Go ahead, Brad.
The story
and
is...
who wrote it? Oh, John, it was written by Austin Hughley. Go ahead, Brad.
The story is about the federal government turning down St. Louis's request for tornado cleanup. Now, John, how long ago was that tornado again? How long ago was it?
It was mid-May.
Mid-May, and here we are, like, moving into the final 9 or 10 days of September, 11 days of September.
That's exactly right.
So they still don't have everything cleaned up. And I said, not only do we have the 1-800-JUNK guys, but we also have a numerous group of demolition companies in the St. Louis area that tear down buildings. You don't think they could do a quick go to the board of aldermen and say, hey, we need to take some of that Rams money. We need to hire some demolition companies to come in with their track loaders and their backhoes and their dump trucks and pick up all the junk and haul it off somewhere. You don't think they could have done that in, 3 months, 4 months now or something like that? John's not going to answer. Are you there?
It's the difference between the private sector and the public sector.
I don't get it. It just doesn't.
I'm here, Brad.
Well, essentially, what the story is about.
You hear me, Brad?
Yes, I hear you now. Essentially, the story is about the fact that the feds have turned down the city for actual help, and essentially, they're going to give them some more money. And I don't even. What are they going to do with money? They got lots of money. They got tens of millions. They got hundreds of millions of dollars in the bank. Why do they need more money, John? Answer me that. Why do they need more money?
Yeah, I don't think they need more money, but I think what I was saying was that I think that there is, in the city's defense, there's probably a whole lot that goes into it legally of every company. If you went to 1-800-GOT-JUNK, 1-800-GOT-JUNK probably doesn't have the legal liability insurance that if they knock down a building or they take a sofa out and Auntie Clarice's ashes were in there and somebody sues them, who's going to make the family of Auntie Clarice whole? Because her, diabetes medicine was pushed down on the sofa cushion.
John,
there's probably... Go ahead.
So the problem with that is the city is a government agency, and they can just do what they want, and they can indemnify all these people. They can essentially say, okay.
Then maybe that's what they could do. I don't know, Brad. I'm guessing, as we've talked about several times on the show, I'm guessing that the feds look at St. Louis City and say, there's no point in giving them any money because they will just fritter it away. And they'll pay consultants, and they'll waste the money. So tack with them.
Maybe they'll pay for lunch programs like we had with the COVID thing, right?
Yeah, those ended up really well. Folks got a lot of mansions out of it.
Right.
They could go live in the Shelley Bar neighborhood,
Right.
They could go live in a rich area like Shelley Bar lives in.
Right.
Like that one, was it Bobo that moved out there?
I can't remember that.
I think it was Bobo the Clown moved out to Shelley's neighborhood.
I remember, I think she was the one that when they asked her where she was preparing all these lunches, they gave some bar on St. Charles Rock Road that was
why not,
that was like 900 square feet. And the kitchen area had a grill and a deep fryer, and that was pretty much it. Okay, you ready for number 2?
Yeah, let's do it.
It's time for Brad's number 2. It's time for Brad's number 2.
Okay, I want to get a little bit more in-depth into the Jimmy Kimmel thing. And first off, there's 2 aspects of this I want to touch on. First off, the Brendan Carr thing. He's the FCC commissioner. He's the head dude at the FCC. He's taken a lot of heat on this because of the fact that he's essentially saying, hey, that Jimmy Kimmel shouldn't be saying mistruths. You know, the whole crazy story. Monday night, Jimmy Kimmel went on the air and essentially said the guy who shot Charlie Kirk was a MAGA dude, and that the MAGA people are just trying to cover up because of the fact that they don't want to admit that one of their own killed one of their own, which couldn't be further from the truth if you know the information's already come about the MAGA shooter. Okay, so Brendan Carr essentially comes out. Actually, there's three parts of this story. Brendan Carr comes out and makes some nasty comments about ABC and maybe they should take away their licenses. Okay, I think that's a scare tactic because it's very difficult to get a license taken away. But here, there are two aspects of this I want to touch on. First off, I mentioned the fact that not only was it Nexstar, which owns Channel 2 and Channel 11, which does not have an ABC affiliate in St. Louis, but they were going to pull the Jimmy Kimmel Show from their ABC affiliates that they had in other parts of the country. But we do have an ABC affiliate owned by Sinclair. And what a lot of people didn't realize is Sinclair essentially was going to do the same thing. They were going to pull Jimmy Kimmel from Channel 30. Okay, part of that reason is, and this is sort of complicated, and I'll get into this, is that this is the problem the TV stations have. When you run a network program like Jimmy Kimmel, there are commercials in that network program. Some of them are network commercials. That's how the network makes their money. They are selling commercials that play all the different affiliates all over the country at the same time. But then there are local, what we call local avails. There are commercial spots within the Jimmy Kimmel Show which are sold to the local St. Louis area car dealers and people like that. The problem is that when you get politically sensitive programming, and ask anybody at Tracy's station or the refugees or even me to a certain extent with this station, there are some people that do not want their advertising contained within any kind of a political show. And when Jimmy Kimmel goes really super political, a lot of advertisers are going, okay, I'm done. I don't want anything to do with that. And then the other problem is that ABC has problems with national advertisers where they go, okay, we've been sticking with the Jimmy Kimmel guy. He's gone a little bit too far. We want our ads pulled from the Jimmy Kimmel Show. So it's not necessarily censorship as much as it is a business decision on both ABC Disney, Nexstar, and, of course, Sinclair here in St. Louis. And the problem is it's a money situation. It comes down to dollars and cents. Now, having been on the receiving end of this, and I think, and John will go, what is Deedon Tops that you always call me? Is that when I talk about?
Yeah, Deedon Tops. Discussed this many times on the show, but maybe you'll surprise us with something we haven't talked about in a few weeks.
When Brian Nieves was on my AM station years ago and running for state senate, we were the victim. And what's interesting was he was on what is now crap. In the old days, it was called KWMO. And my other station, KSOQ, which ironically we're on now, which used to be a music station, we were the victim of a campaign done by a 20-year-old guy who was a dyed-in-the-wool liberal Democrat who sent letters to all of my advertisers, essentially saying, hi, he gave his name and the whole bit, and he said, you may not realize it, but Brian Nieves is also on this station, which he was not. He was not on KSOQ. And essentially he said that if you continue to advertise on KSOQ, the Washington Missourian is going to publish a story which lists you as a supporter of Brian Nieves's terrible rhetoric. And within 48 hours, I think I lost 9, 10, 11 clients just like that. And I even called the Missourian. I go, are you guys involved in this? Nope, we don't know anything about it. But yet it was the threat. So that's the problem right there. That's why Jimmy Kimmel is now, excuse the pun, pardon the pun, radioactive. Nobody wants to touch him. And if I'm not mistaken, in the last 48 hours, I think the story has been that supposedly he has been given a chance to apologize. And what was his answer, John?
I'm guessing he said no.
Yes, he said no. So, and you know what? His contract's up in May. You know, he's probably going to get a better deal than Stephen Colbert. Stephen Colbert is getting fired, and I think his contract's up in May, too. He's doing his show, and he's having to work for his money. If Jimmy Kimmel gets let go, he doesn't have to work for his money. They'll just pay him up through May, and he can just go on the beach and sit around. And I think he's making, somebody told me he's making $20 million a year. Does that sound right, John? $20 million a year?
Yeah, that seems about right. That doesn't seem out of the ordinary.
So that comes down to what, about $1.3 million a month or something like that? Wouldn't that be about right?
Yeah, probably something like that.
John, could you live on $1.3 million a month?
I don't think so. I mean, if it would be enduring you, 5 hours a week, bare minimum. I don't know if anybody could do it, Brad.
Well, and also the bottom line is, we've talked about this yesterday, the numbers for the late night shows are just in the toilet. When you've got what's his face on Fox, Greg Gutfeld on Fox, killing it with a 6-member staff, and Stephen Colbert has a 200-member staff, and he's getting his butt kicked by did you ever hear this weird story? You know how tall Greg Gutfeld is?
I have no idea.
He's like 5'3".
Oh, wow. He's a little manlet.
Little tiny guy. Okay, by the way, and not to, just something hit my head, and we'll go to number 3 here in a minute. I got a quick trivia question for you.
Okay, I'm ready.
Do you know who the shortest NASCAR driver was in NASCAR history? It's not somebody.
Dale Earnhardt Jr.
No, it's not somebody, and this is sort of a trick question. I heard this the other day. I thought it was really funny.
I know who it is. It's Eddie Goodell.
No, not Eddie Goodell.
Did you know that St. Louis once supported 2 Major League Baseball teams?
We'll talk about that in the C block. Okay, the shortest NASCAR driver ever. Know what? Other guesses?
Yeah, Rick Mears.
5'2", and this is the trick question. It was Danica Patrick.
Oh, there we go.
I thought
she was super cute.
I thought that was an interesting, trivia question, because who would have ever guessed that? Everybody's going like, was it Dale Jr.? Was it?
Yeah, that's what I said. I said it in that voice too. Was it Dale Jr.?
But you know who I thought it was? I thought it was Dick Trickle, but nobody would believe me. Okay.
Oh, wow.
We have to take a break. We will be back. Oh, no, we don't. No, I got to do number one still. Okay, hold on.
You only did 2 stories, Brad.
Hold on.
I'm keeping track here.
Hold on. I've got a, John would say, a banger of a story for number 1. Here we go.
And
Yeah,
now,
let's do it.
big finish, Brad's number.
John, this story, you are not going to believe this story. This story is sad and funny at the same time. A few weeks back, there was a big press conference in Chicago. And, there's all this controversy. Trump keeps threatening he's going to send in the National Guard to Chicago. So Governor Pritzker, hold on, let me clear my voice here. Governor Pritzker has been trying to, negotiate around these threats and essentially say, hey, he's in control. So he had a press conference, and he showed off what the city of Chicago is calling their Peacekeeper Force. And the Peacekeeper Force is a group of individuals who are not police officers, they're not social workers, they're just guys and gals who the city has essentially anointed with the term of peacekeeper, and it's their job to go into the community and try to prevent crime. It's their job to go in and talk to the gangsters and the carjackers and the murderers and the shooters and the robbers and the burglars and say, hey, man, chill out. We shouldn't be doing this.
That sounds like that's going to work.
And Governor Pritzker a publicity photo was taken with him next to one of the head peacekeepers named Kellen McMiller, K-E-L-L-E-N.
I bet that guy has some kind of a history.
Kellen McMiller, M-C-M-I-L-L-E-R. And the picture is a very close, a 2-shot, a close-up of Pritzker standing next to Kellen McMiller in not a pink safety vest like I would wear, but a lime green safety vest. And they were promoting the fact that Kellen McMiller was going to go into the community and stomp out crime. About a week after that, I don't know if you heard this story, there was what they're now calling a crash and grab at the Louis Vuitton store on the Miracle Mile in Chicago, on Michigan Avenue, where 6 cars converged on the Louis Vuitton store at early hours in the morning, I believe between 4 and 5 o'clock in the morning. One of the cars, I think all the cars were stolen. One of the cars was positioned in front of the Louis Vuitton store. They put a brick on the accelerator, put the car in neutral, revved up the engine to maximum, popped it into drive. The car goes through the front door of the Louis Vuitton store. The 7 guys in 5 other cars go in and steal $500,000 worth of Louis Vuitton material, Louis Vuitton bags, all this different stuff. I've never been in a Louis Vuitton store, so I guess it's like purses and stuff like that, right? Isn't it high-end kind of stuff?
Like clutches, yeah.
Right, okay. The 7 guys jump in these 5 different cars and proceed to take off on Michigan Avenue. Now, the alarm system went off, and there was a Chicago police officer not too far away, and he responded to the scene of the crime and started chasing one of these cars, which went into a skid and hit a car head on and killed the driver, who unfortunately was a young guy with a pregnant wife, whose wife delivered the baby the next day, because at that point in time, she'd become, after 24 hours of her husband being killed, she was a widow. So they issue the arrest warrants, and guess who one of the 7 men is?
One of the peacekeepers.
Kellen McMiller. And then when it comes out that it's him, they do and this is from WLS TV. The story is actually, it's to the point where you read the story and you go, okay, this can't.
I can't believe that really happened.
Okay, yes, it did, and the point of it is, it's so bizarre. Here, let me see. I thought I had it up here, but my phone glitched, and let me pull it up here. Okay, this Kellen McMiller is not only a criminal in the state of Illinois, he has warrants for him in all sorts of different states. Matter of fact, if I can read this, let me read this real quick. I had it here, and my phone glitched. In a statement, ABC 7, in response to an email asking about the picture with McMiller, Pritzker's office said, in part, "We were extremely troubled to learn that this individual was arrested for his alleged volume in the serious crime, and we expect them to be held accountable to the fullest extent of the law." McMillan, in this instance, is charged with murder, burglary, fugitive from justice in the deadly crash and grab on Michigan Avenue. Court records reveal an extensive and violent criminal background, including drug charges, domestic battery, armed robbery, probation violations in Cook County. He was charged with battery against a police officer and resisting arrest in Miami-Dade County in Florida last year. A signed warrant indicated McMiller was violating supervision. He has not 1, not 2, not 3, not 4, but 5 warrants out for his arrest. And he's a peacekeeper in Chicago. Don't you think that before you start forming a group of citizens to essentially, be peacekeepers, and in this case, pose with the governor, this is this great, crime prevention problem, don't you think they'd run him on the computer system? The police would do a little background check on him, or the state would do a little background check on him, saying, dude, we appreciate you want to be a peacekeeper, but we want to make sure you got a clean record. Is that okay with you? Well, I guess it is. Is this bizarre or what, John?
Yeah, I would think that there's been conversations in the last week or so in Pritzker's office where somebody, and Pritzker wouldn't be in the room because he wouldn't meddle with this type of silliness, but somebody on his staff would say to somebody else on his staff, how did this happen? And it's different if you're just at a public event and a random person comes up to you and wants to take a picture with you.
Right.
But it's another thing if you endorse these peacekeepers.
Exactly.
And then you take a photo with one of them who's a lifelong crook.
And the problem with this is the same kind of program a lot of cities around the country want to propose. They're run by Democrats. They're blue cities. And if I'm not mistaken, didn't the St. Louis city talk about this under the previous administration? Wasn't this one of Tashara Jones' things that they were going to, instead of sending in the police, they're going to send in social workers and citizens who were there to diffuse tough situations? Wasn't that part of her program, John?
Yeah, we need more social workers. We don't need police officers.
Right. Kellen McMiller. And, once again, the sad part of this is the guy who was killed, car accident, he's a young guy. His wife's pregnant. His wife gets birth the next day. She's a widow. Got to bring up a kid by herself.
Yeah, that's horrible, Brad.
And the interesting part of it is the ABC 7, which is WLS TV in Chicago, the article talks about the very last paragraph that the part of the governor's website that promoted this program is now, guess what, John?
Does it say the site has been disabled, and then John has to send a screenshot to Brad?
The part of the website has been scrubbed. There's no more.
Oh, you don't say, Brad. Maybe too many people clicking on it.
Yeah, there's no more talk about the Peacekeeper Force in Chicago. There's no more picture of Pritzker standing next to Kellen McMiller, the serial criminal, and now charged with murder in a crash and grab scheme. This is just crazy stuff. And how many times do you hear these stories? Have you ever been on the Magnificent Mile in Chicago on Michigan Avenue?
I have, yeah.
Okay, and very upscale and is a huge tourist attraction for people all over the world, correct?
Yeah, if you have female body parts, then you've spent a lot of time there saying, oh my God, let's just do some window shopping.
Right. And you know what this is going to do? Already has. I've heard there are already stores that have shuttered because this is not the first crash and grab that's happened. This happens all up and down Michigan Avenue. I mean, I've seen other videos. It's not necessarily the crash and grab, but the organized what they call it, the flash mob thieves, where 20 cars show up at one time and 50 people run in the store and grab stuff, and then they run out.
And there's no way to defend it. They're essentially flooding the zone. Brad, if I was a shop owner in the Magnificent Mile, or if I was in law enforcement, I guess you could say this type of behavior would push me over the edge.
John, coming up in C Block,